morning.
Good morning. You're early. Welcome.
Yes, I was testing all the stuff here.
And
Yeah.
can I help to?
No, it works. Everything is fine, I think. But, anxieties and stuff.
Yes, I can imagine. I'm curious how many people will come, so we'll see.
Yeah, me too. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. I am very happy. I just started to wait. I will pause to.
Oh, recording, yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to see you again at the next workshop, at the next webinar, so to say. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Okay, that's great. Okay, I will try to check the chat at the same time, but please, if I miss some of the things that you say during the meetings, please please tell me. Okay, just a second too.
We have used a Mentimeter, which is a very nice app to answer to various questions and reflections that we found them useful during the last two webinars. And we thought it would be useful perhaps for some of you if you would like to download the app. It is easily reachable via Play Store or iStore or whatever phone you have, and it takes a couple of seconds to download it. So perhaps for some of you who prefer that, it would be easier to download the app and then introduce the code that I will just place it here. Just or you can open a tab on the computer, and you can fill out the answers via computer. Okay. I see that some of you are connected, obviously, and I'm perhaps some some other people will join as well. I am not sure of the attendance today, but perhaps we can start and accommodate other people as they join. This is not the problem. We can include the others as well when they are willing to do. Just let me know if you managed to download the Mentimeter or to access the website, so it would be easy to access it when we need them the most. Okay, great. So we started our journey into this self and team development journey, so to say, by addressing some of the aspects related to stress, which was 2 weeks ago, and then we approached more and more the interpersonal part. So we kind of moved from looking to ourselves and what we can do and how can we better control the what surrounds us and what can affect negatively our well-being, and how can we move from managing what is stressful for us to actually feeling good and feel better than just not stressed. And then after we build this kind of resources, we kind of looked how can we bring this into relationships with other people. How can we communicate honestly and assertively our needs? How can we give feedback, and how can we build a communication that is good, not just for our well-being, but also for constructive relationships and productive interactions in our world generally, but also in our workplace. Today in this session, we will focus more on what does collaboration and team means. So it's like we moved from the individual focus to relationship focus, and now we are looking at the team focus. What is happening in the team? And I thought to address the following aspects, which I believe are useful to address, especially in this context. I would like us to have a good look, perhaps not an exhaustive look, exhaustive look, so to healthy organizations, but just to see some of the examples of how organizations that are highly ranked in terms of their well-being practices and good practices regarding collaborations are doing things. What do they focus on? What do they do exactly in their everyday practice? Because this is what we are aiming for. And then we will try to understand how can we develop partnerships, synergies, collaborations, because we need to move on from examples and from good practices to what can we do. And we will do this by a series of reflections and discussions. So I would like us to discuss and to interact as much as possible and as useful today. And then we will focus on how do we do things in relationship with other people. We started the discussion last week about communication styles. We just presented them briefly, but today we would like to focus more on what does it mean assertiveness, which is kind of a key behavior and the key attitude that help us help all these objectives regarding to partnerships and synergies. And before we start, I would like you to, I would like to hear what are your thoughts about today? What are your expectations, or what do you feel like talking or understanding more regarding this topic? Or if you have any reflections on the last two webinars that we did together, if it's something that you would like to share. Perhaps you have a certain concern, or you have a certain idea that you would like to hear more about, or something that it will be helpful to be discussed here. No, if you don't want, if you don't have it now, or if you don't want to share, this is not a problem. Please feel free to share it via chat or interrupt me whenever you have the need to do that. It is always more useful to build a discussion around specific needs that people have. So. First of all, I would like to hear your ideas about how does a workplace that you dream about look like. If you were to build a culture and the climate and the way of relating to one another, or to choose certain types of tasks and to work, how would this world of work look like? If you would like to connect to the Mentimeter, then you can. Okay, you already did, some of you, which is very nice. And I will share the presentation so you can see the screen as well. You can see the results, because on your app you can only see your presentation, your answers, but here you can see the results as well.
We still see your presentation. We do not see the... there it is.
Yes, it took me a bit longer than expected. Today I don't seem very friendly with the technology, but well, we'll see who wins in the end. Okay. So to have pleasant offices, to have productive collaboration, to feel happy, to focus on green, respect, but also to know what to focus on. So what is the clarity of objectives? Room for brainstorms. Yes, we will see how important that is. Pleasant offices. So this nice about being together and collaborate interpersonally. Yeah, this is very important because we have three fundamental psychological needs. One is about feeling competent. We like to know that we do something that is meaningful, that is something that is good, and that we are good at the things that we do generally in life, not just at work, but here as well. The other fundamental need is autonomy, to have a certain degree of freedom to think, to express, and to imprint our environment. And the third basic psychological need is relationship, is the quality of the relationships. We don't need a second family at work, but we need relationships where we feel respected, where we feel that we can be authentic and that we can be ourselves, and we can build normal and natural connections with other people. So that is why always relationships at work will be a great motivator and a great source of well-being, or the opposite, of course. So when we say pleasant, when we say respect, which appears a couple of times here, when we see happy and collaborative, this starts with respect from one another, which needs not just to be a value which is theoretical in our heads, but also needs to be expressed in specific behaviors towards other people. And I notice a very important thing as well, which is the clarity of responsibilities, the clarity of roles and the objectives. So we need to know where we need to go, what is the aim, the objective, the end goal, but we also need to know what we need to do, what can we do in terms of actions and behaviors. And this is very important, especially that if we look at the reverse of it, which is role ambiguity. This is one of the biggest stressors at work, when we are not sure what to do, how to do it, with whom to do it, how long does it take. This kind of stressor consumes a lot of our time and resources, because it is something undefined. Unlike other stressors, for example, when you have workload, a high workload or overload, you are stressed, obviously, because you think that your resources, your time, your energy doesn't, your competencies sometimes doesn't match the performance that you need to provide. But this is something specific. Yeah, it's kind of easier to know, okay, I need to ask a support from from some colleague, or I need to learn something, or I need to allocate more time. But when things are ambiguous, it's, you don't know which coping to engage. That's why some of the most dangerous stressors, and on the other hand, motivators as well. Okay, so when we we look when we move on to see the examples, we see that if we take a look, for example, from some award ceremony, which every year awards the American Psychological Association awards the most important organizations from the United States of America that fulfill some relevant criteria that are relevant for creating a healthy workplace. Yeah, this means that they award environments where employees are engaged, they value employee involvement, they value organizations where is an important accent on the work-family balance, for example, and when there is okay. And when employees' well-being is really taken care of. So there is a lot to say here, but I would just like you to present some of the very nice examples. For example, there is a company called Community Health Options. And here, for example, we see some of their good practices. For example, they avoid formal evaluations of individual performance. Yeah, this is something that is of question in every organization because it's a bit difficult in various industries to define what is good performance and then to evaluate it properly. Nevertheless, employees need to know what they need to do in their organization and what are they appreciated for. But this doesn't mean that it needs to be reduced on a formal evaluation. It's like you do it once a year and then you evaluate what happened during that time. This kind of retrospective analysis is not always accurate because it's kind of difficult to know, or for your supervisor, your boss to know what did you do in the last 6 months or the last year. You can still use it for some reasons, or for some to have like 1 year discussion with the employee, but what organizations start to do more and more is to have like more organic, so to say, evaluations, so to discuss when is needed, when people are doing something, they finish the project, or they struggle with their performance at a certain moment in time, then you discuss it. You don't have to wait for a year, and you kind of address it in a here and now. So this is something that we move on, and some of the organizations are already doing that. Some other organizations have a more inertia in this way, but this is kind of a message where we might need to reflect more about. Another thing that they do is that they hold weekly meetings in which employees are encouraged to address the interdependencies in their work. And we know that also in this project and in other contexts, we discuss a lot about silo busting and about how departments do not interact well with one another, not because they don't want to, but sometimes they don't know to, or there is perhaps the leadership doesn't define the collaboration very well, and then a lot of efficiency and knowledge is missed because these interdependencies are not encouraged or are not well correlated. And this award that this organization did is just an example that if you take care of that and encourage that, things are good, not just for performance, but also for the organization and for the employees. And one way they do that is just an example. It might ring a bell for some of you, for some perhaps not, is that they hold weekly meetings. So it's not like they have a plan at the beginning of the year where they draw a chart and explain everyone how they should relate. No, they do it weekly and they discuss and they explore together. What do we have to do? What is our goal? How can we collaborate? So, and some of the ideas that emerge more and more as examples from this kind of awarded organization is this approach when you don't have a master plan that you expect to work for the next year or for the next 5 years, that some of our organizations might be inclined to do, but rather encourage specific behaviors when you can analyze and reanalyze how things are changing, because they are not static as much as we would like us to be, to reflect or to report to the same environment. It doesn't happen like that. And this is the way they basically create trust, organizational culture, feedback, continuous feedback, because this is something that we also tackled last week when we said that feedback is relevant if it is given in the here and now. If it is postponed, if it is retrospective, it doesn't have the same effect. It will be just a nice or less nice discussion, but not effective. Or you want feedback to be effective, you want people to change a certain behavior, to improve or to continue the same behavior. When you give them a reflection in this direction in real time, so to say. And also building an environment free of prejudice and malice doesn't happen when you just post on the wall, look, here are our values, we value diversity, we value communication. No, this is something that needs to be transposed in practices, in everyday, every week practices. And each organization should try to understand and to test which practice fits the best. So they also have annual focus groups where they make sure that the resulting feedback reaches leadership, and they have certain consequences or rewards or changes of positions that they desire. So they kind of focus on the continuous feedback during the year, and they at some point they look. They have also the overview picture, but they do not wait until the year is final. And also leaders meet with the employees at least twice a month to discuss their performance, successes, obstacles, and define next steps. And of course, this is very challenging for leaders, especially in organizations where leaders are promoted because they are very good from the technical point of view. And in most organizations, this is happening. You're very good in programming, you're very good in managing projects, or you have a very good knowledge on a certain topic, you're proficient in your job, and then you are promoted as a leader. And then you kind of learn by by doing how to deal with people. And sometimes you learn it well in due time. Sometimes you feel that you still need to do your work, your work that is related to your content more than meeting with people and helping them. Or someone should tell you that actually this is the core of the leadership, when you guide your people and you make sure that everyone's activity is contributing as they should to the whole process. Another organization, Autosoft, again, we see here on feedback and recognition all year around. Yeah, perhaps in some companies we see that we have like a yearly recognition ceremony where we look back and choose 1, 2, 3, I don't know, 7 employees to. We have this in at the university as regards research and contribution to the development of the university. Once a year we have a very big ceremony where people are awarded according to their performance last year, according to some criteria. And this is nice, obviously, because you know, like the stars of the last year. It's a nice ceremony, but it doesn't have to exclude or to ignore the feedback that you have, that you might have for employees all year, because sometimes people publish or have an idea or have do something nice for the organization or win a competition, or it doesn't have to be spectacular. It's sometimes you publish an article, or you have an idea, or you did a great course that was highly appreciated, or small things which are not that small, so to say, which are not perhaps not acknowledged as they should. And it's not a big deal to acknowledge them, but it has to be included in your practice. So this organization use also a gamification system when colleagues kind of engage in a small competition to join points and to reach to a certain goal, to engage in extra role behave activities. And sometimes people want in organization to they say, I want people to collaborate, I want people to bring innovative ideas, I expect them as a leader, and this doesn't happen. But do you reward that? Do you make sure that what it matters is not just the proficiency of how they construct an Excel file, but also the way they help another colleague, or the way they bring in another idea is as valuable as their task performance? Because if you do not tell them that you value all this activity or performance has multifacets, then it will not happen as you want. Again, here we see again monthly performance reviews, or a system for a collection of anonymous feedback from employees. This is again very important, and as important is to have the feedback loop and to come back with the employees with some actions regarding to this feedback. Because what is worse than not asking for feedback is ask for feedback and do nothing. So if you want to have this system, it is a great idea. It works in a lot of companies, but make sure that you have a system of people who manage the platform, who analyze the requests, who make sure that those requests or observations reach to the people where they should, and you come back for the employees with an answer. If you cannot do that, you don't have logistics, you don't know how, then just don't do it, yeah, rather than do it half a measure, because people feel that they were kind of cheated or misled, yeah, and they will not do it again, and they will not trust you. So basically, just having a glimpse in this in this area, we wonder ourselves, so what do we aim for to have a good organization, to have a good way of working? So we want to have partnerships, we want to have good collaboration and synergies. And of course, the next question is, okay, but how do we get there? What do we need to do in order to have this in our organization? And there are some ideas that we would like to explore in more depth. First of all, is communication, and we can talk for hours and for days and for years about communication, but basically it boils down to sharing needs and to share ideas, to share resources, and to build common knowledge. And this is important not just for doing our day-to-day work, but also for evolving. And sometimes in organizations, we are a bit short-sighted, because when we feel pressure, when we feel stress, we want to solve problems in the here and now, and we do not allocate enough time to see ourselves in 5 years or in 10 years or in 3 years, and think what kind of actions help us grow, because our purpose is not just to survive and to finish the day, but our goal is to grow as individuals and in organizations, and we need to have them matched. Because if I want to grow as an employee, I need my organizations to grow with me, because otherwise I will not feel fit in an organization that wants to maintain the status quo without a certain justification. uh, Trust building is about respect, is about we don't have to agree with one another all the time, we don't need to feel in sync, but we need to listen, and we need to show interest in your ideas, and to see what we can learn from one another. And if we do not have a culture that is supportive of that, this can be quite a challenge. it's always easy when our work is meaningful, not just for ourselves, because sometimes it is meaningful to do anything just to have a salary or to feed my family or whatever. This is like the basic meaning of work. But for most of us, at least in this meeting, our work is meaningful because it has an impact on society, on other people, and we kind of see it in real time, or what is happening. And this is a good motivator, which helps us to understand better this very complex view on how to build collaboration capability. And this means to build trust, and we will address them in a minute. Commitment, because I want to be in an organization and in a team because I feel like doing that. I feel like belonging. My values resonate with the values that are expressed by that organization. So it's this type of effective commitment. It's not really helpful for me or for the organization to be committed basically to stay within the organization just because it's easier, or I don't have anywhere else to go in this moment. So also to put resources together so we can jointly solve problems, or to have this feeling of satisfaction. So, but in more concrete ways, the basic question is, okay, how do we build collaboration? Where do we start? First of all, is important to be honest. And honest is to say what is in your mind, to say it in a way that is easy to understand from other people, that is expressed in a way that is reachable to other persons. So the first concern is to be able to discuss openly and to begin with trust, because sometimes we expect other people to trust us, but it's kind of more important for you to be the first to show trust. And this is not a difficult thing to do, because we are kind of we kind of naturally do that. We start with that, and then we reconsider if it's the case. And another important thing is to make sure that we know what are our roles, that we are sure about our responsibilities and how to support one another. It's not easy when we have misunderstandings, and when things are not very clear, or when we did a mistake together, and we tend to find who is guilty. But then it is in problem. It is very important to understand all perspectives and to value failure, because it is the easiest thing to do when you fail a project, or when you missed a deadline, or when you did a mistake that ruined some of the goals that you prepared, to find who is guilty and to punish that person. This doesn't mean that you need to go to the other extreme to embrace all the failures and to show all the understanding in the world for every person who failed. But it's somewhere in between is better to first of all, to normalize failure. This is very important, because if people are afraid, and you create in an organization or in your team a climate of fear regarding to failure, people will not look what happened, what did I miss, where did the problem started. And when you are willing to normalize failure and to discuss what is the problem, you can prevent things from happening. If you associate failure with fear, first of all, people will tend not to report individual failures, because it's a form of protection. And if you hide failures, even if they are not I don't know, life threatening or so on, if everybody hides a little bit of a failure, then at the group level, people will not will miss a lot of information that really affects what is happening. So this is something that few organizations do, because they feel that it's simple to punish what is not right. And this is more like it's easier for the leader, but it's also an illusion to think that, okay, so I scared people enough and next time they will not fail again. This is absolutely wrong, because people fail because perhaps they didn't understand the instructions, they do not have the competencies to do their job, or they didn't understand how to collaborate. And if you do not look at that, and not you just as a leader, as an auditor, or as a detective, this is not the point, but the point is to for the whole of us to understand what happens. And most importantly, when we do a mistake, the first thing that we need to do is to tell the other people, look, I think I made a mistake, I think I sent the wrong mail, or I think I miscommunicated that deadline. Let's see how can we repair it together, instead of hiding it out of fear and hope to God that it will not explode, or if it explodes, the explosion will be that big so that no one will understand what happened. So also to recognize colleagues is a practice that is very good to be done as it happens. So it's some, we see some organizations that they have the wall of good colleagues, or the colleagues of the month, or this kind of system of appraising, and sometimes it works, but sometimes they are too procedural a bit. And if you have, for example, a small department, then in a way everyone will be on the wall sooner or later without necessarily doing something valuable for that position, and then it's the value decreases, because at some point it will be your turn to be on the wall. Or sometimes it encourages a competition between colleagues, because it if recognition of one performance is against group work, then it means that, oh, I will need to hide my knowledge or my information because we are in competition. So these practices need to be, sometimes they are easy to apply, like I said, to have the employee of the month or of the week. So they're very procedural, you can apply them in 3 bullets, but you have to reflect, are they effective? Is this a good way to do this in my organization, in my context? And also what works, and what is important, to appreciate the diversity of ideas, and to try to learn as much as you can from others. And of course it is very helpful if you have a culture who supports learning as well. For example, in one of my seminars, I gave them an exercise, and when they came back, one of the students was with voice. The mic was on, and I heard something in English talking, and of course my first thought was, okay, he was doing something else than what he was supposed to do. But they also were supposed to search for some materials, and I asked them, a bit ironic, not very much, but honestly a bit ironic. So what are you listening? I was trying to catch him for some reason, and to confirm that, okay, sometimes students are doing, especially in online, things that are something else that you propose them. And he said, oh, I'm listening to a neuropsychologist, one of his podcasts. And I was like, okay. And I asked, what is the name? Oh, he said Andrew Huberman. And I said, okay. My first thought was, okay, I didn't know about this name, and I thought, okay, but this is perhaps I should have known this name, and be a bit embarrassed that I'm not familiar with all the neuroscientists in the world. But then I diminished this thought, and I said, this is not about me, this is not important, it's absolutely okay not to know about people. And I was very happy to learn from a student in a non-related context, because I don't teach neuroscience, obviously, otherwise I would have known this guy. But still, the joke aside, I was very happy, and then I asked the student, okay, so tell us about more. What did you listen? What is this? No, I'm very happy to hear about it. I don't know about this guy. And then I searched for him, and he's a really good scientist, and listened to the podcast. And I was very grateful that, by mistake, unfortunately, in that situation, I learned something that otherwise I wouldn't have known, in at least in this moment. And I was reflecting how much we miss because we do not always encourage a learning environment, or we encourage it because I do this, for example, in the seminars, but learning focused on what we need to achieve by the end of the seminar. And I'm not sure about other colleagues, we miss this like a greater view on the world, or another, no, I don't know how to express it better, to because when you learn and you form yourself as a psychologist, for example, you need to know things about the world, not just a certain theory or a certain objective or a specific material that you do it in a certain seminar. And it was an acknowledgement that we don't do this as we should in terms of learning, in terms of sharing. And when we try to do it, perhaps people do not share as much as we want, and then we drop it. And we forget that sometimes this is a process. And it's not like, okay, now we have a meeting and we ask people, so what do you have interesting to share? And people don't say anything, and we confirm, okay, so we don't have anything to learn from other people. So we skip it and we move back to our offices. Yeah, learning is a process, and a learning community and a learning organization takes a bit more time and repetition and encouragement. It's like I saw a very interesting documentary on Netflix about creativity, and a lot of people have this idea that, oh, we are creative when we sit. So I admire nature and reflect, and sometimes, boom, I create a poem or I create a theory. Or it doesn't work like that. Creativity, innovation stands beside a lot of work and productivity. So if you want a good brainstorming session, if you want to be innovative, if you want to create something by yourself or with your group, you need to allow not just time, but to encourage ideas and to be very productive. Even if from 100 ideas, just one idea is plausible and you will implement it, to reach this idea, you have more chances to reach that one idea when you stimulate 100 ideas or 50 ideas than if you stop after 3 and say, okay, this is not working. Yeah, it's not working easily, but if you have this muscle exercised, yeah, and encouraged, you will reach a good idea depending on the productivity. Yeah, it doesn't work like I feel a moment of inspiration when I will create. Yeah, perhaps this work for some people, some artists. I'm not saying this is not happening, never, but for the majority of us, even great writings and painters, and in various areas of art, but also when we discuss about innovation at work, because we need innovation at work as well. I need innovation in my teaching. I need innovation in creating a webinar, or in discussing with other people. This doesn't mean I need to invent the next platform of doing a webinar or a format that is out of this world. It doesn't mean that, but it means that you need uh, to focus on how to do things a bit different. And I repeat, when you are productive, you have you have more chances to choose what is right. And also, it is important to review and evaluate the effectiveness of team meetings, because you start with something, or a format, or how you think something is relevant, but then you see that, okay, this is not working, we are not reaching what we want to reach, and then you stop and discuss how do you improve it. You don't keep it like it is like you thought it initially. And also, what is very nice is to focus on team celebrations and on achieving milestones. Sometimes we wait to celebrate until the end, until we reach the big pot, until something very spectacular happens, and we do not celebrate the fact that, oh, we had a great meeting. Yeah, oh, I'm very happy that we managed to reach a certain idea. Yeah, or we really had a very conflict-free meeting. So small wins are very important. And if we discuss them, we miss something very important for our well-being, because tons of research, for example, showed that gratitude, so when you feel grateful for what you have in your life, really, really helps your well-being. And this doesn't have to be something um, um, very big, or the gratitude process. It doesn't have to be spectacular. If you do this exercise of gratitude 1 or 2 times a week, when you reflect about your life, but also about your day. I had a meeting the other days, and from 10 o'clock, and I was very, very energetic and smiley. And one of the person from that organization said, "But how can you be so energetic and happy in the morning, when she was already gloomy with all the problems in her head?" And I said, "Well, I have some important wins today already by 10 o'clock. So I reached kindergarten on time, which is very big accomplishment." In the day, in the light of the day, I managed to do some important shopping before, some essential shopping before the meeting. I managed to prepare some of the ideas. And of course, when you share it to other people, they seem not important at all. It's nothing spectacular to reach on time. But for me, knowing what is happening and what happens with the small child, and how well do you organize to not to drag him after you, but also to respect some of the boundaries, are really a wins. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be the same for everyone, but when you take time to reflect, what were my accomplishments by this day, they help you establish a baseline of energy, of an accomplishments, which help you put in a set when you really good things that are more important, so to say, or more relevant, because you have built some of the resources. You start the day by building resources, and it's not important just to build them, but also to acknowledge them. It's like when you Oh, when you do sport, or when you do yoga, but you don't feel the results, and then you're confused. But I did that. I didn't, everybody knows that doing sport is good for you, or doing yoga, but I don't feel the benefits. Yeah. So it's that is why it's important to do these things in a mindful way, and to be concentrated on them, and to reflect on the benefits for you, not just doing them. Yeah. Okay, so if we move back to the Mentimeter, perhaps we can look from your perspective, from your ideas, how can we build collaborations? And this means if you look at the very specific ideas, so very simple things that you can start tomorrow without something complicated. What would you do? What would you think would be very beneficial for you? Things that are observable, things that are really, really good, really specific actions. Mhm. Okay, so from agreeing what to do that day, to share lunch walks, or to share ideas, to bond time, to have time to connect with one another, to build also personal relationship. Yes, very important. A body system to reflect on issues and develop on one to excellent idea. Yeah. and to share your idea and to ask, what do you think? So yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everything that you wrote here is achievable. Yeah, it is something that you can do starting tomorrow, and it doesn't take a lot of time or planning. Yeah, value the other person. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can also see here that that people from organizations also go twice a week at lunch and aim to learning from one another expertise. So this is very important as well, because a learning environment in a company is not just a company or an organization or a workplace where you are allowed to take courses on your own time or on the company time. Sometimes learning is not just learning how to work in an Excel or with SPSS, or learn about how to do some team building activities, but it's also learning from another departments or learning from other expertise that are going on in your company or from your colleagues. And also they have in another company, they have like nutritious lunches several times a week, sharing ideas and building camaraderie. So they associate the well-being of being together with a colleague, but also with learning. So if it were to reflect a bit more on that, what topic or project would you choose to present in such a context? If tomorrow you will have you will have a lunch with a colleague or with a company or with a group, where you would have to share or to present something that could be of value or learning point from for another person, what would you choose? What would you share? What would you teach other people in at lunch? Yeah, you don't have to book a room. You don't have to organize a seminar. You don't have to check with everyone's schedule. If you were to say, okay, tomorrow I'm sending a link. I invite you to a learning lunch. You don't have to confirm your attendance of all. You just pop in if you feel like it, and I will present this topic. What would it be? I don't see your answers. I'm not sure if. Oh, okay, they start to appear. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, some of you would prefer to use lunch to disconnect and not to present something. Yes. It can be the coffee after lunch. Yeah, so it doesn't have to involve necessary eating in front of the screen. Perhaps not in that direction, but to organize the after lunch coffee, where you for a half an hour you share an idea. Mhm. Okay, so some of you will share some ideas about well-being, or how to ask for help, or to share your favorite painting. Yes. Mhm. Or how to manage your time. Mhm. Okay. Even if you don't have an idea, or you don't like to share now, or perhaps you can keep this in mind. It could be of great help for your colleagues. You've lost that slide on the Mentimeter, okay, but it's still on. Paula?
Sorry, I think it's my inadequacy. I just had to go to the next slide.
Okay.
Sorry, I think I pressed a button I shouldn't have.
No, not a problem. Not a problem. But you should go back as well. This is not really okay. But you can go back in your Mentimeter. You can go back. You should do. I'm not sure how to show you, but it's possible to go back. To go further, you cannot go without my being sync with me, but you can go back and complete. If not, you can write here and we can place it on Mentimeter if you like. NBS as a lifestyle. Yes, and about painting, this comes up. This comes back to the way we connect with one another, because sometimes we feel that we do not have a lot of time, and we always have pressing things to discuss, and we forget to share our hobbies and things that help us to connect in these directions. Yeah, and that I read a poem on that, or that I listened a very nice documentary, or that I liked an art exhibition where I've been, or this is a very nice painting that I would just like you to let you know that this is my favorite one. These are very important things that you can do in a very short amount of time, so it doesn't have to be complicated. But sometimes we do not want that. I do not like to talk about work at lunch. Yes. Okay. That's why I said before, it doesn't have to be lunch. It could be morning coffee. Yeah. Or it could be something else. The idea is to organize something that you can to encourage a learning environment. Yeah. So you can do it in the morning or whatever. If you like the idea, of course. Okay. So we see here other practices as well. For example, they organize different committees based on their interests. For example, some people are interested in good eating and good food, healthy food, or good environment, a good sport, a good lifestyle. So they form a committee, even if this is not their profile. They're being an insurance company, but they like to discuss and share other colleagues about the nutritious information, or the importance of regular exercises, while organizing fitness related activities and challenges. Yeah, because you do not build a community and collaboration just on focus on roles and tasks and sharing information about the same the same business or work related environment. You create the collaborative environment, looking at people as they are in their complexity, with their interests, with their vibes, with their emotions, with their need to connect with other people in different ways. And of course, you do not have to do this all the time, or to allocate an enormous amount of time for this, because this you will not be able to do your job properly. But if you do not do that, you will kind of miss the opportunities to connect with other people, because if you connect with people also in this way, then when you enter into the meeting room, people will already have a better connection, and the atmosphere of fun and of willingness to learn from one another will be in practice there, and it will facilitate more the concentration and the attention they need to solve a certain problem. Yeah. So other people are doing, for example, presentation. They have a day of learning. Yeah. So where there are presentations by employees from all levels of organizations about the latest strategies and initiatives. Yeah. And this is the way you learn from other departments. Not you just learn a technique on how they are doing things, but you understand what is happening. Yeah, you have a better grasp of their activity, and when you need collaboration, you will already be informed of that. Not to mention that you will learn some of the good practices that they are doing. Also, in other companies, they share successes, receive training, and develop professional skills. Yeah, and these are very, very nice practices that really help these organizations have a good working environment that also leads to performance. And when you think about learning, of course, learning can be like that. It's like when you when you see something very complicated and something that really takes your time and energy, and you don't feel like adding more cognitive load on your plate. But also learning can be like this. Yeah, learning can spark curiosity and joy and excitement of exploring, and can really boost your well-being, not to mention your knowledge. So if we will go back to the Mentimeter, what will we see? Let's see. For example, what would you like to learn more about at work? To learn also in the context of understanding more on or gathering more information. What do you feel will contribute more to your well-being and to your performance? So time management, yeah, how to organize your energy and your tasks. Okay, this is a topic that keeps coming back. Emotional intelligence. How other places do things. So good practices. Book club. Yes. Teamwork. Blue skies ideas. I'm not sure what that means. Useful techniques, Pomodoro. Yes, very good for time management and productivity management. Yes, to have some time for learning whatever interests us at the time. Yes, very important, because sometimes you do not know at the beginning of the year that in July you would like to participate at a certain course or that. And learning, it's not just about taking courses or having someone from abroad or from outside teaching you something. No, learning something. If you want to learn Excel, you can help. You can have a colleague inside to teach you, 3 or 4 of you, how to understand that, or things that are not that specific as well. Yeah, the escalating difficult meetings. Yeah, how to focus. Yeah, it's very nice that you have this in mind, and you have like this concern of learning and developing and understanding more. Yeah, so it's like the next step is how to reach information on these topics, and most of them are in your control as well, to organize or to ask for them future analysis, yeah, to understand what is going to come. And you can bring these concerns with your colleagues, with your supervisors, and find ways how to integrate them in your practice, because it's easily done if you organize them a bit, and if you want to create a learning environment, a learning culture, obviously. Okay, sustainable work development. Formulating ambitions together. Yeah, exactly. Very important to discuss a bit. What do we want? What do we aim for? Yeah. Excellent ideas, and I really hope you would bring them to your colleagues and build on them. Yeah, because some of them are you can have other providers from inside or outside the organization, like communication techniques, or how to focus. So this is something easy to provide, so to say. But others are really something that will strengthen the togetherness, like formulating ambitions together, or building networks. Yeah, because sometimes we want to build networks with the outside, but we forget to build networks in our organization, between our departments. Yeah, we forget to exercise and to value all the resources that we have inside, and also the good practice of building a network inside our organization. And we just see the network as something that goes outside. Yeah. A joint vision. Yeah. Yeah, we see this, for example, in the university, that we see that different kind of committees are forming. The committee that brings university in touch with I don't know, with the business community, and they have like meetings where they try to formulate a vision on how should we reform or address better the community, the practitioners, the business world, and then so on. And this is very important, obviously, to have like these collaborative committees between the academic environment and the business environment. Or you have the other committee with people concerned about the environment, and so on. When you see the university as an entity with other entities as well, which is very nice. And at the same, it is very important to have these committees as a replica within the university, within the committee, within the organization, because this is just simply as important. Yeah, it's universities and big organizations are not entities that are one big thing. There are networks, and things are happening inside. And you have to place attention on that as well, not to assume that you are one big thing that exits in the world as one entity, because it's not like that. It's a bit of an illusion to think that as well. Okay, good. So we also see that other companies have like speed storming session. It's like something that can be fun and easy to do, and with no pressure of performance from the beginning. Yeah, it's like I said before, in order to have a good idea, it is always important to be productive as well, and to allow time for productivity. This doesn't mean that you have to have like 5-hour brainstorming every day and not do anything else. But the idea is to stimulate this productivity. And you have to, this is, for example, 20 minutes, yeah, when you do this practice and you have brains like working. So it's not something very complicated. these guys from Accenture have like an ideas platform where people come together and share, and you don't have to buy a certain platform. You can use Teams, or you can use Google Classroom, or whatever, to just to encourage people to place things together. Yeah, and also things can be done in the virtual environment as well, where you can make sure that you use the right channel of communication for what are things supposed to do. For example, if you feel like you're writing like 5 mails back and forth in a thread, perhaps it's better to stop and to call someone. Yeah, because it doesn't seem efficient to exchange this kind of email. At the same time, if you have something very specific to transmit, don't organize a Zoom, like send an email, or do something very briefly that doesn't involve attendance. Yeah, encourage people to show off with their camera, and at the same time be aware that perhaps they had like 5 meetings that day, or they don't feel very well, or they don't like to be with the camera. To try to find like a balance between maintaining contact and respecting how things are happening with everyone. Okay, if you would like to share ideas, or if you like to ask some questions about collaboration and what is happening in this big picture context. No, not really. Okay, not a problem. Okay. Good. So this is the big picture. This is something that we can do together. The practices, as you've seen, are not complicated. The point is how to do it. And you don't have to do it all. You don't have to do it exactly as other companies are doing. But if something rang a bell, then perhaps you can adapt it, or you can create a format that is very nice and can be productive for you and for your company. And when you do that, you also understand how things are going on at the personal level and at the interpersonal level when you discuss collaboration, and when you look at every type of information. And we discussed last week about how sometimes people are passive, in the sense that they do not actually express anything, and it's could be this a bit difficult, because in some situations passive people are convenient because they do not disturb with questions or with criticisms, but in other times it is confusing, because you don't know what they think, you don't know if they agree, you don't know if they understand. So make sure when it feels too convenient with passive people, or if you are in that position, to make sure, okay, you perhaps gain a bit of quiet time in this meeting, but in the long term or in medium term, is this something that you want, or is this something that you want to continue? Also, sometimes it's always a challenge to deal with people who are aggressive, and aggressiveness doesn't mean people who are yelling or are disrespectful. This is just like one portrait of aggressiveness, but it's more like people who think that things are about them. Yeah, so I'm aggressive when I think this is about me, my idea, my time, and my goal is to convince other people to do it my way. Yeah, this is some of the things that we feel that people are aggressive, and when we have aggressive people in meetings and um, in groups, we feel that we do not have a place to grow or to learn, or to express ourselves. And of course, what we want to do for ourselves and for the people in our group is to be assertive, which means that I get to express what I want and what I think, and I want to express it in a way that is visible and clear and explicit for other people, with the attitude and the welcome for other people to do this as well, so we can really understand one another and reach a common understanding, because we all agree how important it is to have a common goal and to have a common strategy to reach that. And this common strategy is reached only if we are willing uh, to adopt this assertive style and to allow a bit of a space to explore and to listen to one another. Yeah, common, it's not something that something else, someone else is delivering and label it as common. Yeah, you need to build it together. And sometimes you can, if we were to simplify and to focus in the time that we have, assertiveness, we focus on three ideas, and one is the request. Yeah, sometimes it's you need to be assertive when you ask something from other people, and this is a message centered on yourself, and at the same time acknowledging what does the other person feels or thinks, but also considering your idea. Yeah, you can say, for example, when someone is interrupting in a meeting, you might say, hey John, I see that you're interrupting me, and I understand that you have things to say as well, and I would love to hear them, to hear your ideas. And I see that you're anxious as well to express them. So this is the part of when you recognize their emotion and empathy. And at this moment, I would like to finish my sentence so I can convey my idea. And so precision, yeah, this is what I would like I would like to do. And at the same time, I see you. I see that you're impatient. I see that you want to say, yeah. And at the same time, I would like to finish what I have to do. And when you interrupt me again, I can say it again, the same thing, because assertiveness doesn't mean that I say something once and that everyone does what I say. No, sometimes people do not want to do that, or sometimes they need to listen once or the second time. And it's very important for me to have this repetition in the same calm way and very specific, and not to accelerate or not to become irritated or aggressive, but to repeat. And this doesn't mean, as I say, that this is a button that I push and other people do as I ask, but it is demonstrated that this kind of approach increases very much the probability that the other will respect what I need, my space. Of course, the challenge is when we criticize other people. Do you feel that it's complicated to criticize other people? Is it something that you dread, or is it something that you do with pleasure? No, not with pleasure. Yeah. Yeah, it's complicated to critic, because sometimes it's very plausible, so the other people are really doing not a great job, and we might feel tempted to do it very bluntly, or to elaborate that much. And sometimes our criticism sounds like that. For example, your report is a mess, it's not what it's supposed to be, you're not doing your job very well. So this is a bit aggressive, right? It's something that it kind of hints to the person's ability. Yeah, you're not doing your job very well, and it's not what it's supposed to be. Yeah, and also it's a bit scary, this kind of criticism, because it's ambiguous. Yeah, it's not what is supposed to be, but what is supposed to be. Yeah, so it kind of induces confusion and uncertainty and discount. When you say this report is a mess, it's something that is very discounting for the other people. But perhaps sometimes we do this without acknowledging that we are doing it in this way, perhaps with other words, perhaps in a more acceptable way. But if we reflect on that and we acknowledge that, okay, I'm not very good in giving negative feedback, and we resonate with this kind of formulation, how can we reformulate such a criticism in a way that it sounds assertive?
I can respond if you want.
Yes, please do, Karin, please.
First, we should start with the description. So I received a report and I saw that some chapters were not finished. I feel a bit hesitant to send this to our client, and it makes me a bit scared of if we will be able to meet the deadlines. I understand that you've been busy, maybe, or that you found it difficult. I'm curious to hear what you think of the report. Could we maybe sit together and discuss the parts that are not as I expected them, and maybe come up with ways to improve them? And if you can't, I think you should come up with another solution. Something like that?
Yes, something like that. And this is very supportive and encourage. It's a good way of giving negative feedback and encourages focusing to solutions. What we can add here is to explain what is wrong with the report. Yeah. So what is not according to our expectations, so we can understand what is the problem and how to fix it. Yeah, and when we hear this kind of formulations, if we are the culprit, the ones who did this report, we feel that okay, we might feel a bit embarrassed, obviously, but when we hear that what is the effect to other people when we feel that it is the other person is scared and is not comfortable in sending it to the client. Yeah, we can become empathic as well, and to be in contact with our fear as well, that we didn't do a good job. And especially we address this idea of, okay, the other person is willing to help me, or is willing to show me, or to guide me, or to support me into doing a good job. And this is extremely important. And why is that? Of course, it takes more effort to formulate a response like that rather than how it is written here, obviously. But our goal is to do a good job. Yeah. And sometimes we think that if we criticize people, people are, as I said before, they get scared, and they automatically do a good job out of being scared. Yeah. And we kind of miss this lack of, perhaps the person doesn't feeling well, or doesn't have the competency, or didn't understand. We miss the cause. And if we miss the cause, then we get the scare, and the second version of the report perhaps a bit better, but not where we want to be. And we might dismiss the other person, and we will not like to work with that person, perhaps. And the person will not learn, and will not actually do what we expect them to do. And of course, sometimes we are the target of the criticism. And of course, here is the things are clear, in the sense that when the criticism is real, we need to accept it. Yes, sometimes we did not do such a great job, and is a very important anchor to understand that criticism is about our behavior. So what we did, the way we expressed ourselves, the way we have written a report, was not the best of what we can do. And yes, we did some mistakes. So some mistakes in the here and now. This doesn't mean that we are not knowledgeable enough, but in this moment, this is not such a good thing. And when we accept criticism, this doesn't mean that we need to accept the attitude of the other person, or the connotations, or the the way if we are characterized, for example, like a non-attentive or lazy persons, or these are not part of the criticism. Yeah, or even if I receive them, I will leave them aside because these are not relevant. What is relevant is to accept the things that, oh, I did those mistakes, or I missed the information. And sometimes when it's not specific, it's my job to ask for information. Yeah, what do you mean that the report is a mess? What parts were not good? The report is not written in the Romanian language or in English, or the figures are not aligned. So do you have a problem with the form or with the format or the information? What is wrong with what happened? And especially when you are not blamed, when you are blamed for something that you didn't do, yeah, back up your opinion. So when you're sure that this then the criticism is not for you, so it's not real, it's not demonstrated, then you back it up. Yeah, you not all criticism is a point of learning and reflection, but we need to be very clear about that. So how would you respond when someone is telling you're late again, you always delay and disrupt the process? How would you respond in a way that is assertive and considers yourself and the other person as well?
I can respond if you want, Coralia, but maybe
Yes.
somebody else also want to. I could respond. I'm sorry that you feel that way. I didn't know that you felt my delay was disrupting the process. Can you maybe tell me how my being late is disrupting the process and how that affects your work? So I understand it better.
Yeah, it sounds very good. Yeah, very, very nice
Or
response.
yeah, maybe can you give an example of when this happened?
Yeah. And what is the trigger here in this criticism? What can be a trigger that can hook us into a non-assertive way?
Well, I think it's quite painful to hear, and it's happening at this moment. Like you're late again, so it seems as if somebody has had this already for a long time. So
Yes, and the first part might be a more digerible, perhaps because again might mean, okay, perhaps I'm the second time doing that. But when you hear you always delay, you always disrupt. So when we hear this kind of words, you never, you always, all the time, everybody, nobody, never, yeah, these are words that do not exist in reality, so to say. Yeah, it's very easy to demonstrate always. Yeah, so when someone says you always, I'm pretty sure that at least you can find an example where at least once you were on time. So this is a bit of a discounting when that other people are using as a powerful way of generalizing our behavior, and most of the times they lead us into defensive. So it's quite a struggle to be assertive when you hear this kind of overwhelming accusations. Yeah, you always disrupt, you are always late. But at the same time, these are very good and nice indicators that the other person is aiming at something else. Yeah, and it's not aiming for expressing or correcting. It's something that is bothersome for that other person, and it's perhaps not that realistic what is happening to disrupt the process. Okay, what process, what kind of disruption? So as Karin exemplified, was a very beautiful example of qualification and of understanding what am I doing wrong. So I understand that I'm late. This is the acknowledgement. Yes, this is true. And at the same time, I want to understand how big is the problem. Yeah, well, what people stop thinking when I'm late, or no, you don't say that exactly, because this means that you're mocking the other person. But it's more like a way you want to understand what is the gravity. So it because sometimes it can be bothersome just for one person, because other person values a lot punctuality, so then it's really not nice to be late. And some other people is disrupting, perhaps if you enter the room and slam the door and start to bring your coat and your wet umbrella all the time when there is a meeting, then okay, perhaps this is a different image, but not all the time applicable. So basically some of the ideas that we take here is that it's quite important to meet with colleagues from other departments to understand their work and to understand your and to help others understand your goals as well. And to organize meeting to discuss common interest, and one is meaningful work, was fine to be essential for various organizations that were recognized for their good practices. You can use online platforms. So this is the list of the problem, because we all of us got familiar with more than we would have wanted with technology and platforms. So this is quite easy to find. And also it could be nice to have a person responsible for cross-departmental collaboration and communication, so to make sure that things do not happen perhaps too organically. So someone needs to be aware of that. And also as regards yourself, is also important, very important, to be aware of your preferred communication style, because if you do not share what you think, so you're rather a passive participant in the meetings, then you might connect this with your feeling of not being heard, perhaps, and you might consider a bit of trying assertivities. And it is also important to stay in contact with your needs of related to the task that you have, but also your need to express what you think, or you need to discuss about various things at work, or you need to relate in a bit of a more complex way. And also to always keep in mind, what are the objectives of the communication? Why are we here? What do we want to do, especially when there is a misunderstanding, or where someone is not as punctual as we would like? What is our goal? What am I aiming for? Do I want to make sure that the other understands my information towards them, or do I want to understand their needs? So what is my objective? Because if this is clear, then it will be easier for me to arrange all this information and strategies. So I guess we have reached the end of this webinar, and I would like to hear your thoughts, if you would like to share them about the topic, and how useful was for you, and perhaps if you consider this type of discussions in together with us in the project, or to take these ideas and place them in your organization. So it would be great if you would like to share using the voice, or the chat, or whatever is more comfortable for you. It would be great for a minute or two.
Hello.
Hello.
I really like the presentation. Honestly, I learned new things. This is true that I'm not, so to say, an expert in this field, or but I took note of many of the tips that you have mentioned, and I will share them with my colleagues. One that I really liked was creativity stands on a lot of work and productivity. Because it's true, you always have that idea of creativity that is something spontaneous. And usually, I must admit that in the brainstorming sessions that we organize in my team, we sometimes depend on just okay, let's meet and see what happens. We don't really do that work of preparing a bit the things to foster those ideas. Also, not to generate an atmosphere of fear around failure. That's another good one, but I like it. So yeah, I learned many things, and I can say that you have done a really good job, and I like all the tips that you have shared with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your feedback, and thank you for being engaged. And I'm very happy that you took some ideas that you found useful to bring them with you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the feedback that you're writing on the chat as well. This is very nice, and I'm happy that it was a good way to start your day and to receive some ideas that you can take them with you, from this discussion. Thank you very much for being with us this morning, and I hope we will see each other again in various learning and sharing context. And please feel free to write me. You have my email if you need certain information or materials, or you have questions. Please feel free to write, and we'll try to address them as quick and as good as possible.
Coralia, I'd just like to say thank you very much. This has been a wonderful contribution to our Knowledge Hub on governance and co-production. We'll talk more and see how there might be ways later in the year to do some other work, maybe in different formats, maybe a bit shorter, and see how everyone is feeling. We'll definitely. I think you're already putting the PowerPoints on Documenta in the Knowledge Hub.
Yes.
And we're trying to find out how to share the recordings. It may be that they get uploaded to a YouTube channel so that people who haven't been able to attend or who want to watch again can see this as well as looking at the PowerPoint. So thank you very much on behalf of us all.
For having the opportunity to have such wonderful webinars and discussions. Thank you, and hope that we will continue this way of working. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Goodbye.
Have a